Alright guys, now that we have this NZXT Streaming PC all booted up and ready to go, let's talk about a couple benchmarks real quick. Now we decided to test this PC in a couple of titles, those being Fortnite, Call of Duty Cold War, Borderlands 3, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and then we actually did a quick little live streaming test using Fortnite, which we'll talk about later on because, well, it's a streaming focused PC. We gotta focus on streaming a little bit here. But first, in Fortnite at 1440p, all the games we tested were at 1440p. We got 350 plus FPS on Pro settings. We decided to go with the Pro settings option instead of the performance mode because performance mode is just buggy as hell. That's the best way I can put it. So for the most part, running on Pro settings, which is epic view distance, everything else on low, makes the most sense, and we got a rock solid 350 plus FPS. We had a few dips here and there, and sometimes we got up to 500, 600 FPS. So really the FPS is all over the place, but for the most part, it's a very high performing PC. When you are running on lower settings like this, you're really taking advantage of the CPU horsepower, and the Ryzen 5600X is pretty much one of the best gaming CPUs on the market, so I was not surprised to see such high frame rates and have such a smooth gaming experience. This would work the same in pretty much any esports title you throw at it, whether it's Fortnite, Rainbow Six Siege, Rocket League, CSGO, Valorant, any of those games. Expect really good 1440p high refresh rate or 1080p high refresh rate gaming experience. Next up, in Call of Duty Cold War, once again at 1440p on ultra settings. This time we are using the quality DLSS option. We got 150 plus FPS. You don't need to use DLSS when you're at 1440p. It's a feature mainly designed for 4K gaming, but to get a little extra performance, really you cannot complain about it, and it does look just as good as if you're playing natively at 1440p, and getting over 150 FPS in a game like Cold War is very impressive. This would translate over really well to Warzone as well. Expect very similar numbers. For the most part, Cold War is a little bit more demanding than Warzone, so if you do see numbers here, expect a little bit more frame rate when you are playing Warzone, which is a game I know a lot of you like to play. I was very impressed with the configuration of the 3070 and 5600X, mainly the 5600X. I know the 3070 is awesome, but the 5600X can handle pretty much any GPU you throw at it. I don't even think it's that outrageous to pair it with something like a 3090 or 6900 XT. Yeah, 6 cores and 12 threads is kind of limiting in multitasking, but it does work, and the fast cores really make it great for gaming with pretty much any graphics card. Next up, in Borderlands 3 on high settings using the built-in benchmark, we ended up averaging around 80 FPS. Borderlands 3 is a very intensive AAA title, especially with the built-in benchmark, so getting 80 FPS is pretty impressive. Lowering the settings a little bit would achieve a more high refresh rate gaming experience, so do keep that in mind. And the same does go for Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which is another AAA title. At 1440p using the built-in benchmark, we averaged 117 FPS. Overall, in terms of AAA gaming and just overall gaming in general, this PC passes the test. It is a $2,000 PC though, so you should expect to be able to play pretty much any game you throw at it at max settings, but it's a streaming PC, so can it live stream? Well, using a local recording using the new NVIC encoder and using OBS Studio playing Fortnite, well, we had no problems whatsoever. No drop frames. We streamed at 1080p using local recording options, and the quality speaks for itself. Looks pretty good. I was able to run around and achieve very similar frame rates. So overall, if you're looking to stream, this is a really good plug-and-play option. I know live streaming can be very complicated, having to come up with the right specs for live streaming, but I think the 3070 and 5600X works great together. The only thing that could be better is maybe a better CPU, and I know I've been hyping up the 5600X, but when you are multitasking and live streaming, the 6 cores and 12 threads might be limiting, so getting like a 5800X or 5900X would make it an absolutely perfect single PC streaming setup, and really, you could do that if you want to get an upgraded model, so just do keep that in mind. That is the one thing that could hold you back if you do have a lot of plugins or you run a bunch of Chrome tabs in the background while live streaming, because in my testing, I was literally just playing the game, had nothing else going, just OBS and the game, so keep that in mind. So overall, I'm very happy with this NZXT Streaming PC. If you want to pick one of these bad boys up, a link in the description down below to NZXT's website. Special thanks again to them for sending this PC over for testing. I'm really happy with how it performs. How about we going to bring Jackson back in here to wrap this video up real quick.